Welcome back to Left to Read. Today I'm going to be recommending some books that are perfect for Halloween time. It's my favourite time of the year, so I wanted to speak about some of my favourite horror, thriller, Halloween books. There are some horrors, there's some thrillers, there's some that are more literary fiction, but these are some of my favourites. There will be some that are popular and you've all heard of before, and there's some that aren't spoken about enough in my opinion. First up, we have Dracul by Dacre Stoker and J.D. Barker. This is kind of a prequel of sorts to the classic Dracula by Bram Stoker. Dacre Stoker is actually Bram's great grandnephew, I want to say, and this somewhat reads like a true story, although it is fictional, because it's been inspired and worked from Bram's childhood and some of the story that was left behind before it went into Dracula and some of the family's journals. There is some added information at the end of this book that I would definitely recommend you read. I always love reading author's notes and afterwards anyway, but if I could recommend you go into the added details of any book, like say the afterwards or the author's notes, it would be this book. If it was any of the books out there, I would recommend you finish every single page of this book. It's gothic, it's atmospheric, it's the perfect read for Halloween. And I was lucky enough to stumble across this in a charity shop and get this beautiful edition. I love this little window hole. I last read this, and the only time I've ever read this was in 2019. So I'm desperate for a reread. But I remember just not wanting to put this down, and every time I had to put this down, I was thinking about it. If you've not heard of this before, or if you've not read it yet, I would definitely recommend you picking this up this Halloween. The next recommendation I have for you is a manga, and that is Shiver by Junji Ito. This is one of his short story collections. Junji Ito is well loved in the horror community. I was nervous about going into any of his mangas. I'm nervous going into manga as it is, because it's typically not a format that I read from, but I've ended up finding some favourites, and Shiver is definitely one of them. I've read some of his standalones and I've not enjoyed them as much as this short story collection, and I've yet to read any of his other short story collections, so I'm desperate to get my hands on those. Now thinking about it, I feel like I should have got one for this Halloween, and maybe I could start getting a short story collection every Halloween to read from him. That'd be really cool, because he has loads. I still have time yet, so I might end up doing that. This is a collection of 10 stories, I believe, and with any short story collection, there's some that I didn't like as much as others, and there's some that I absolutely loved. But I feel like this is probably one of my favourite short story collections, because I enjoyed more than I did dislike. And also I really appreciate horror when it actually scares me. Like, that's what I go into horror for. There's a short story called Grease in here. Ended up giving me a new fear. So that was great. I feel like I have a body horror fear now, and I want to read more body horror books. I don't know, that's how my brain works. So yeah, the fact that this unlocked a new fear for me makes it one of my favourite books, one of my favourite short story collections there is out there. If you've not read Junji Ito yet, I would definitely recommend. He's really disturbed. Not saying him personally, but maybe. But his stories are really disturbing and entertaining and fun. Like, they are fun, but they are very disturbing as well. So yeah, take with that what you will, but I would definitely recommend this one. Okay, next up we have a throwback, but I wanted to mention it because I personally really enjoy this book, and that is Bird Box by Josh Malerman. This has stuck with me ever since I read it. I can't remember when I read it. I don't even know. It was a long time ago. It was a good few years ago now. When did this come out? I can find nowhere what year this came out. The cover design was 2015, so I'm going to say 2015, but I could be wrong for the actual release date. So it's been out for a while. It's an oldie, but it's a goodie. It's post-apocalyptic, and I don't think I can remember an post-apocalyptic book that I've enjoyed other than this one. This is a totally different take to what I'm used to. We follow a cast of characters. I think it's Mallory, because the second book is Mallory, so if I'm remembering right, we follow Mallory in this book too. There is a second book, and what I will say is that although it doesn't matter to me, because if I'm not a fan of the second book, it doesn't ruin the first book for me usually, I would say the second book takes a turn which could ruin the first book, and I don't think it was needed. So the first book is perfectly fine to read on its own, and I would recommend it that way. As I said, follows Mallory and her children, and she's with a group of people from... This is what I'm pulling from the film. I'm remembering the film more than I am the book right now because it's been so long. I quite enjoyed the film adaptation too. What I can remember from the film, there's Mallory, her kids, she's with a group of people, and they're in this post-apocalyptic setting. We're not sure what happened, but all we know is that people started seeing things and they started turning violent from seeing these things. So now everyone has to walk around blindfolded. When they're in their homes, they have to have everything covered, all the windows and the doors covered, so they don't see what's out there. This terrified me because I hate the thought of being blinded, not being able to see, but be able to feel or maybe hear these things around you, and you have no idea what they are or what they want. I love the atmosphere in this book. For me, atmosphere is everything when it comes to horror. This definitely built on that. I really enjoyed it, and I think it's worth still talking about and still reading. Josh Malerman also, I want to read more by him. I do want to read more by him. But he had a short story come out in a like short story collection on like Amazon. Amazon have like Amazon original stories that are like short story collections every so often. And this was part of, I think it was like horror creature feature, something like that, the collection was called. And it's little short stories by different authors. And one of them was by Josh Malerman, and it was called, I think it was Into the Woods. I loved that short story. I would definitely recommend it on audiobook if you can listen to it on audiobook. That was spooky. So that's a little honourable mention if you fancy just trying his writing, trying a short story by him. I would definitely recommend that one. Like I say, the audiobook made me jump. I would like to read more by him. Other than Mallory, I would recommend his books. Some people might really enjoy Mallory. They might like the turn that it takes. But for me personally, it was not needed. And I would just stick with Bird Box. From one that I've loved for a long time and haven't read for a long time to a new favourite. We Used to Live Here by Marcus Cleaver. I love this book. I spoke about it in my recent favourites video, which is probably the video before this one. So I won't go too far into this one. But it's about this couple who buy this new beautiful old house in this remote neighbourhood. And one day there's a knock on the door. They're getting ready to start upcycling the house and move in properly, and they get a knock on the door. Eva's the only one home at the time, so she answers, and there's a man there with his family, and the man says, "I used to live here. Could we have a look around?" Eve is a people pleaser to a fault and ends up letting this family in. From there, that's when we start getting the horror. Things start happening, unexplainable things, and it's creepy and weird. This was the perfect horror book for me. The way Marcus Cleaver wrote the scary scenes and the way he wrote the whole book left me feeling tense. The audiobook, again, I would definitely recommend. It's got added bits in it that enhances the experience. His writing is just so good and exactly how I like horror to be written that I can't wait to read more by him. He's got another one coming out, I think early 2026, so I can't wait to pick that one off. This, I said in my last video, has something that's quite controversial in it, and some people love the book because of that reason, some people hate the book because of that reason. I was on the side that loved the book for that reason. I can't explain exactly what it is, and I wish I could so you can know before going into it, because I know for me, for like horror or thriller twist or part in a book that is detrimental to me enjoying the experience, like, it's such a big deal, but unfortunately I can't because it's also a spoiler. Keep that in mind. If you're like me, you will definitely love this book, and yeah, I can't wait to read more by him. this was the perfect horror book, and it's perfect for Halloween. I'm sure everyone's heard of Stephen King's horrors, but I wanted to recommend one that I think a lot of people will enjoy, the majority of people will enjoy. My favourite Stephen King, that's subject to change, but my favourite Stephen King is The Shining. And I think that may have been my first, like one of my first Stephen Kings, one of my first horrors by him. I'm not sure. And I think because it was one of my first, that's why it's my favourite. I also really enjoyed Jack Nicholson, so I like him in the film, although the film isn't great. I love Jack Nicholson's portrayal of Jack Torrance. This is a total side tangent, but also maybe an honourable mention. I think that Shining deserves its love, and I really want to reread it slowly, if that makes sense. Like, I want to reread it in a way where I actually think about what's happening in the book and I analyse everything, rather than just reading it for the thrill that I did the first time. And I think I would enjoy it that way, but if I read it for the thrill the second time, I wouldn't enjoy it as much. Does that make any sense? I like to keep that as my favourite Stephen King because it meant a lot to me. It made a huge difference for like what I was reading at the time and everything. So that's kind of a bit of a nostalgic love. But if I was going to recommend a Stephen King horror for anyone to read, it would probably be Misery. Misery is a perfect book. I think it's a great Halloween book. I'm not sure when I read this, but it's a great winter book as well. So if you wanted to like hold off until it gets a bit colder, maybe read it then. This follows Paul Sheldon, who is an author, and he ends up getting in a car crash. He wakes up after the car crash in a lot of pain, in a bed that he doesn't recognise, and he knows it's not a hospital bed. There we end up meeting Annie Wilkes, who is Paul Sheldon's #1 fan. Luckily for him, she used to be a nurse and she has medical supplies on hand. Not so lucky for him, like I said, she was his #1 fan. She finds out that Paul ended up killing Misery, who is a beloved character of his that he wrote, and she ain't happy about that. So from there, things get a bit wild. And I will say Annie Wilkes is one of the best characters to ever be written, in my opinion. She's wild, she's complex, she's just really interesting and scary. And I think this was such a good piece of like written work. It's so fun to read. This is Stephen King at his best. There's a lot of Stephen King that I don't enjoy, and when I don't enjoy them, I just wish we could go back to books like this, because this is really a masterpiece. Next, we have Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, and this is my charity shop book that I found and annotated, and then this is a copy that my sister-in-law bought me because it was a nice copy. I feel like Rebecca doesn't have that many nice copies, in my opinion, and this is definitely not the prettiest, but I have a lot of love around it because I annotated it the first time I read it and wrote all over it. So I'm keeping it for the love that I have for it, but I also have a nicer edition. Which one should I hold up? Doesn't matter. It's a gothic horror mystery thriller. The feeling, the atmosphere again in this one hits in all the right places. It's brooding, it's gloomy, and I just love it. This has one of the most famous first lines in a book ever. I didn't expect to enjoy this book as much as I did. I don't know what I expected, but I didn't expect this. One thing I did expect was that we were going to be following Rebecca, and I would recommend probably going in to it not knowing what this book is about. If you don't want to know anymore, maybe skip ahead, but I'm going to tell you what you can find if you read a simple synopsis anyway. Rebecca, I thought, was going to be the main character. I thought we were going to follow a character named Rebecca. But Rebecca is actually the dead wife of, is it Max? Max de Winter? Yeah, it's Max de Winter. Rebecca is the dead wife of Max de Winter, and he ends up remarrying, and the new Mrs. de Winter goes to their home, newly married, meets their housekeeper, I think she is. This housekeeper is like obsessed with Rebecca and lets her know it. And just being in that house, it all feels like Rebecca's still there. It feels somewhat claustrophobic. I just couldn't imagine being in this situation. I felt like the new Mrs. De Winter, who I don't think we actually ever find out her first name, just, it feels like she'd be so alone in the position that she's in, and it's just a weird situation to be in. But I won't say any more about that. I think going into it with as little as possible is the best way. It's a fun time. It's a great gothic read, and of course I would recommend it. Next up is An Unwanted Guest by Shari Lapena. I need to reread these books. I read my Goodreads review for this one earlier, and it said that, well, first of all, let me tell you what it's about. It's a murder mystery, and we are in this hotel, and the hotel is basically being snowed in. There's a snowstorm outside, and some people have managed to get there. A lot of people have decided to cancel. And now the people that have managed to get there are snowed in, and there's a handful of them. We end up meeting them and getting to know them before one of them ends up dead at the bottom of the stairs. Originally, this looks like there's been an accident and they fell down the stairs. But on closer inspection, it looks like there's been a murder. From the start, it seems like everyone knows who the suspect is and who the murderer was. But then another body ends up showing up, and now nothing makes sense. So it's very Glass Onion, murder mystery, Agatha Christie, whodunit kind of vibes. And I love that. But I feel like I've not met the perfect book that does that for me. I don't really enjoy Agatha Christie, sorry. This book did it for me. And I've not had a murder mystery work out for me like this book has. So I need more. I need some murder mystery recommendations. If you have any, please let me know. I would absolutely love to read another one. The Atmosphere. I should have like an atmosphere rating at this point, like an atmosphere scale. This is 10 out of 10. Spooky, cold, snowed in hotel and murder. Like, the atmosphere is just 10 out of 10. It's great. Could not recommend this book enough, clearly. What I was going to say about my Goodreads review was I had written that I figured out who the murderer was from the start. I'm really interested to see who it was because I can't remember. It's been so long. And if I would figure it out the second time round. And I did write in my Goodreads review, usually that would ruin a book for me. And it would. If I can figure something out, I'm like, well, the book's not good enough. If I can figure it out, you haven't confused me enough and done your job enough to make this entertaining. But this book didn't rely on that. It didn't have to rely on me not figuring it out to be a good book. And I still massively enjoyed the whole process of this. The writing was fantastic. I have read something by Shari Lapena before and enjoyed it, but I've read one or two from her that I've not enjoyed, so she's very hit or miss. But this is my favourite by her for sure, and I would definitely recommend it if you're looking for a new murder mystery book to pick up. Next up is What Lies Between Us by John Mars. I find that one of his other books, The One, is his most popular. At least that's the one I see around a lot and what I see recommended a lot. I personally didn't enjoy that one. I'm intrigued in a reread because it's been a long time and I wonder if I would feel differently about it now. But I didn't enjoy that one and I put off reading anything else by him for a long time. Then for some reason I picked this one up. I believe it was on Kindle because I didn't actually own this book for a long time. Like, this book has never been read. And it's another I want to reread, but it's my favourite by him, and I definitely want to read more and try more from him now that I love this book. This follows a mother-daughter relationship. They're both adults, full-grown adults, but they've lived together their whole lives. And the daughter, I believe the daughter's name is Nina and the mother's name is Maggie. And Nina, after they've eaten together every night, puts Maggie back into her bedroom and chains her up. She has chained her up because of things that Maggie has done in the past. There's a lot of past history, but Nina doesn't know the half of it. This book is full of twists and turns, and I did not expect to enjoy it as much as I did. This is such a solid twisty, turny thriller. So if that's what you're into, then this is the one out of all the recommendations that I would pick for you. It's full of twists, it's full of turns, and it's fast paced. It is thrilling. Like, this is the epitome of thrilling. So definitely recommend this one if you haven't yet. I do think John Mars is a good author. I just need to find what I enjoy from him, I think, because he has got some uniquely different takes on books, whereas this one's a little bit more of a classic thriller, but still keeps you on your toes and is still really well done. Long Bright River by Liz Moore is another one that's family focused, but this time we're following sisters, and these two sisters couldn't be more different. One is a part of the police force and the other is a sex worker, and they haven't been in contact with each other for a long time. But the police force lady, I've forgotten their names. So Mickey is the police officer and Casey is the sex worker. But Mickey keeps an eye kind of on Casey where she can to make sure she's still alive, basically, and she's still safe. But then 6 sex workers turn up dead, and Mickey is determined to keep her sister safe. But then her sister goes missing, and we follow that story. This thriller is like none I've read before. If you're a fan of literary fiction, I would recommend this one. I didn't know, I know like literary fiction can be any genre really, but I didn't know a thriller could be done like this. And I'd never experienced it until I picked up this book. This was so beautifully written, so deep and so touching, but you still get the core of the book as a thriller. I definitely want to read more by Liz Moore. I tried reading The God in the Woods, her newer one, but I wasn't in the mood for it at the time. So I got so excited because I just finished this. I was like, I want to read her new one. And then I just wasn't in the mood at the time. So I'm leaving it until I'm in the mood for like a literary fiction thriller or her type of writing, at least. I don't know if her new one is literary fiction at all. I know it is a thriller, but yeah, I'm going to wait till I'm in the mood for it. Oh, there's a lot of noise going on. But yeah, massively emotional and compelling, and would definitely recommend it if you're into literary fiction and you want to read one that's a thriller. One of the things I remember is this is another one that I just couldn't put down, and I was always eager to get back to it if I had to put it down. And we might as well end with The Secret History by Donna Tartt, since so we're speaking about literary fiction. This is probably the most known book on this list, and maybe one of the most controversial. Some people love this book, some people hate it. It's dark academia and it is very literary fiction. I love this book. I love this with my whole heart. I do understand why people don't. And I think if you do enough looking into it and finding out what it's about, finding out what other people think of it, you'll probably get the answer to whether you're going to love this book or not by like researching and looking around. The stuff that's said about it that people love is why I love this book and what I love to see in books. Some of the stuff that people hate in this book, the reasons why I love this book. You get what I'm saying? So I think if you look hard enough, you'll probably find what this book includes that you may like or dislike, and then you will figure out if you would love this book or not if you haven't picked it up yet. For me, it felt like kind of nothing happened, but it was like just a massive like character study. We are focused on following this group of characters, this group of friends that are really unlikable and really toxic. The writing is this book. The writing is obsessive and the characters are obsessive, and it just all meshes together to make this beautiful story that I'm obsessed with. The word obsession is how I would describe this book. I find it really hard, especially to describe like my favorite book of all time, because I don't feel like I have enough words or the right words to really describe how good it is. This is the first book ever that has contested every other book, and I've reread this more times than any other book, and without question. Like, there's so many books on like this pile of this recommendation list that I've said I want to reread, but I just haven't got around to. This doesn't, I don't have to find time for this book. Whenever I feel like I want to read this book gets picked up immediately. It's so good. It's so atmospheric. The writing is beautiful. It's one of my favourites ever. And yeah, if you want to be completely immersed and obsessed with a group of characters that are unlikable for some reason, this is the book for you. I'm not sure if this is the right angle or not, but my camera ended up being full up with storage, so I had to leave it where I left it. Luckily, it filmed nearly all of the video. I believe I said everything I wanted to say about The Secret History, so hopefully everything makes sense, but that's why I'm leaving the video. Please let me know if there's any horror recommendations that you have, because I'd love to do this video again, probably this time next year. But I do feel like I had a bit of a hard time picking just the 10 that I picked this time, and I wanted it to be specifically Halloween horror recommendations, but I found that hard too, so hence why some of them are more thrillers or dark academia. But I still think it works for this video. But I've just found that I don't have enough favourites to talk about in the horror genre. And it's probably because I do move around genres a lot. So I feel like I don't have enough books in any one genre to really talk about. So I do want to start focusing on genres and different areas at different times of the year when I'm in the mood for them. I'm really in the mood for horrors right now. So if you have any recommendations, please do let me know. I'd love to come back next year and have a whole new 10 books of horrors that I could recommend next year. Yeah, I hope you liked this video. I hope you have a great Halloween if you celebrate, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!